hitting me over and over. And I'm just sitting there, stop. And he wouldn't stop. He kept hitting me. And by the time it got done, I was bleeding out of my nose and my ears and my eyes. He beat me so bad. What sucks, Tyler, is I stayed with him. I was afraid. I didn't want to leave. Because I thought he would kill me. Because that's what pimps do. Gorilla pimps, when you leave them, they don't let you leave. They keep everything, beat you down. And they torture you. And they stalk you. And they make you feel like you're nothing. I don't know why I'm crying so much right now. I have no idea. I think I've been holding this in for years.
I'm here with Annie Lobert. Annie, would you like to introduce yourself?
Do you want me to tell you who I am or them?
Tell them who you are. How would you introduce yourself?
I would say, well, I'm Annie Lobert, and I am the founder of Hookers for Jesus and Pink Chair, which right where we are right now, we're sitting at the pink chair. And it's a conversation, a chair, a change.
And Annie, you are a former high-class escort. Is that how you describe yourself?
And then in the realm of education, we call ourselves former victims of trafficking.
Okay.
So
what does that mean?
Because in the beginning, when I first started working in the sex industry, it was not a trafficking situation. I went into the sex industry because I was angry at men, and I had former abuse happen to me when I was a young girl. My parents were very, very... On the outward appearance, they looked really normal, but my dad was an antique addict. He was also an anger person. He would get angry and rage, and he would storm through our house because my dad was a dry drunk. And when I learned that he stopped drinking, I was about 3 years old. So there was this pattern with my father. My mom kept saying, if you don't stop, I'm going to leave with the kids. I'm taking off. And at the time, it was just me, my brother, and my sister. And my little brother had just gotten born, so he wasn't even aware of what was going on. But my dad did go to treatment, and he got help. He went to AA for a whole year. And I'm so proud that he did that. And he can't watch this right now except from heaven because he's not here anymore. And neither can my mom, which is neither here nor there. But my parents, this was one part that I'm happy about today that I can speak to you about the actual background of someone that could potentially be sex trafficked. There is a history of a family situation that went down that would potentially make someone more vulnerable to trafficking.
And before we break into those categories you may have there, can you tell us a little bit about your story and how your inclusion into this industry sort of began and how you were wrapped up into all of this? How did you get involved?
So it's just the web is so deep and so dark that it's kind of hard to explain it from the childhood aspect, but it all started when I was a teenager. I got raped in high school, and I left high school very embittered. And then, not to mention the other things that happened as a little girl with my parents and then another next door neighbor. But I came out of high school just very angry, basically at men. And it didn't make me turn gay or anything. I didn't turn into a lesbian because of that. Now, You hear some people's stories like, I turned gay. No, I never turned gay.
Got it.
Okay. I still thought I could use men somehow for money or just sleep with them and dump them.
So you were mad.
I was mad.
More
I was
incidences
pretty angry.
Besides what happened in high school?
Yeah, I'm just very reactive sometimes, and I'm a little bit of an emotional person, and some people would accuse me of being a woman. That's kind of what we are. We're emotional.
Okay.
But we also, if we have a past of a lot of abuse and we haven't resolved that abuse, there's a lot of trauma that's being worked out in our emotions. That's what I brought to my relationships, a lot of baggage.
Okay.
And any man that got involved with me was super sweet in the beginning. And usually the men that I was involved with, Tyler, in the very beginning, they were all musicians. And so I can't really say a musician broke my heart, but there were a couple that did. But they never put their hands on me. They never tried to control me. I'm putting my fingers up for a reason. They never tried to isolate me. They never took my identification. They never tried to control my money. They never tried to control my sexuality. or try to sell me to other people.
And you put those fingers up.
And
I
they
know the
never
reason.
called me
Yeah.
a whore or a B. I'm just going to say it, bitch.
Sure.
And they never used me in the sense that a real abuser would. So basically, these men, they just broke my heart. And they were involved with their music. Their music was more important to them than me. And that wasn't good enough for me. I wanted to find someone eventually, and I know this sounds so crazy because of what I just described about me being angry at men.
Okay.
I wanted to find someone that would marry me, that would love me enough to marry me and create a life with me. But I couldn't find that way back then.
So when you say way back then, how young were you when you got?
I was 18.
This is when you met your first pimp.
Yes.
Would that be an appropriate way to describe? Did you know he was your pimp at
No.
that moment?
No,
Can you explain how you
not
got
at
that?
all. When I first met him, I was already in the sex industry and I had gotten turned out. And that in the game language is when you learn how to sell yourself and you become someone of the sex stature of sex for sale, or they call it in the regular talk of someone that is prostituting themselves. They call it sex work. Now, I do not believe that it's sex work because they think that just because you're getting paid, it should be legalized. Right? Just because something gets legalized doesn't mean it's good. Alcohol is legal, but
Poison.
you can abuse it.
Sure.
Poison's legal. Drugs are legal for prescription. But all these things that I just mentioned can kill you. So can a license for a car. But if you give a child, a 2-year-old child, the keys to the car, or a 5-year-old, they're going to kill themselves probably because they can't handle it because there's no education behind it. So that being said, being in the sex industry, I don't believe in it because it's dehumanization, and it's a human's rights issue with me right now because it's a violation of a piece of us that is supposed to be meant for private.
So you don't
Because-
think there's a percentage of women out there, let's say like OnlyFans, that are willingly complicit in the industry?
See, they haven't done a legit study on that, I
Yeah.
believe, yet. Now, my friend Melissa Farley has done a study on 900 admitted prostitutes, okay? And out of those 900 something, I don't know the exact number, but you have to go to our website. I believe it's prostitutionresearch.com. Go ahead and plug it in.
Okay.
And then you could look and see what percentage of the women that she interviewed. And by the way, this was done about, gosh, it might have been at least 20 years ago she did this survey, this research. It might have been 15 years, but it's been a while.
A little bit old.
And she went to 9 different countries and interviewed these women, legalized sex and non-legalized sex for sale.
Okay.
And all of them said they wanted to get out
Why is that?
because it's abusive,
Always?
usually.
Okay.
I can't say always,
Yeah.
but usually. And not only that, she found out of those 900 some women, 84% had pimps. 84% admitted to having a pimp. But did the other 16% admit it? Nope.
Okay.
How many of those probably had pimps? I would say maybe 10 more. Because of what I've seen in my life. All my friends, maybe 1 or 2 out of the 5, 10, 20, 50, and then loosely 50, 100 friends in the sex industry, I can't think of many that didn't have pimps. I'm just being honest. It was part of our lifestyle. So, with me, I started working in the sex industry because my girlfriend and I went out to a nightclub and we met these 2 guys with furs.
So they looked like the standard visual of what a pimp might look like. Purple coats.
No, they didn't have purple coats on.
Okay.
So purple coats wouldn't be real,
Okay. That's not real.
right? So one of them had a female mink on. The other one had a fox fur. And they were absolutely beautiful. If you touched them, whoa. They were real. They were not fake. And they both were wearing sunglasses. And they had, like, I think one had a pair of crocodile shoes on. And I know one had a Rolex watch on. That's what I remember, faintly. And they bought our drinks. They weren't, I mean, to me, they weren't that good looking. I was like, I'm not really interested.
And you were 17 at this time?
I was 18.
18, okay.
And my girlfriend, she gets the number for one of the gentlemen. And again, we didn't know they were pimps. They told us that they sold cars for a living in real estate.
Did you even know what a pimp was at that time?
I did,
Okay.
from the television.
And for someone watching who may not know, what is a pimp?
A pimp is someone that takes your money when you're being sold and manages your money.
Your body is being sold?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
As in some sex transaction.
And pimps in the street, they get 100% of the transaction.
Okay.
That especially if you're living with that person or you're in the pimp stable. A stable is, so get education, everyone, write it down.
Yep.
A group of women or people that are paying the pimp to be in that family. Sounds
Okay.
weird, right?
Crazy.
You're paying to be in a family.
Sure.
You're paying for a relationship. Like, to me, I used to tease my pimp, and I would get beat up for this. I would say, you know what? You're a bigger trick than I am. You know what a trick is?
Customer.
A trick is someone that buys sex. That's what they do. They sneak around on their wife. They go on their business trips. They fly to here, they fly to there, or they stay in their own town, and they purchase sex for sale, whether it be a blowjob, sex, full whatever. You know, maybe the kissing girl experience. They call it the girlfriend experience, which I never did, by the way, which is totally disgusting to me because there's no condoms involved in that.
I want to know more about these sort of vocab terms of the industry here, because this is really interesting. You kind of already taught me. I didn't mean to cut you off, but you unknowingly meet a pimp at a club. You're 18. We now know what a pimp is. What happens next?
And I had an illegal ID.
Okay.
Well, the guy that wanted to talk to me, I just ignored him. I wasn't attracted to him, Tyler. He didn't make, like, for me back then, for a man to really turn me on, he had to be good looking, first of all. He had to have long hair. And he needed to be charming. Like, at least have some swagger. Smile a little bit. Have a little bit of nice cologne on. I mean, dress at least a little nice. Some sort of a nice looking body, right? And probably be involved in music.
Okay.
Because I was really attracted to musicians.
Like the rock stars.
Yeah. And not necessarily a rock star, just somebody that's trying to make it. Someone
Okay.
that does music that's creative, because I'm creative and I love music and I like to write and I like to do poetry. I like to do rap. I like to sing a little bit. So I just was not attracted to that guy. And my girlfriend, she ends up hanging out with this new friend of hers, and it became her boyfriend. And he gave her this huge ring. I mean, it was like at least 3 or 4 carats, and it was real. She took it to the jewelers. And the jewelry store person told her this is worth about 25 to 30 grand. Okay? And this is in the 80s. You double that figure right now. Double it.
So
He
where's this
gave
guy
her
making
a
this-
rock.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it was bigger than this ring that you see in my finger right here.
It's a nice ring.
This one's probably about 2 or 3 carats, I
Okay.
think. You think? About?
I don't know.
The diamond was a little bigger than that.
It's very pretty.
Mm-hmm.
So this
And-
guy has money.
Oh, he's
But
got
how,
massive
right?
money.
Does a question mark
Well,
pop up in your head?
that's the thing. I told her, is he a drug dealer?
Sure.
Like, what's going on? How did he afford that jewelry? She's like, I think so. She's like, I think that's what he does.
She doesn't even know.
She wasn't sure.
Okay.
But he gave her the keys to his pearl white drop top Benz. Okay?
Okay. And this is where, by the way?
Minneapolis.
Okay.
By the way, the Benz was dipped in gold, 24 karat gold.
What?
It had the lip frames on the wheel wells, and it had the Mercedes emblem dipped in gold as well.
But he stands out.
Maybach kit.
Yeah.
Thing was slamming, okay? And she sells, oh, let's go to the nightclub tonight. She comes and picks me up in the car. I'm looking around going, girl, man, this is a nice car. I was tripping. Wow. And can I tell you, that night,
Sure.
I've never shared this story. You're the first one.
Okay. Where are we going?
And I swear to Jesus,
Yeah.
Tyler, I've never told anyone this story.
I'm here for it.
So we're leaving the nightclub. We're in the car. And we're just like playing the music, bopping our heads, acting like we're fly. We're chilling because, we're teenagers.
Sure.
And all of a sudden, this lady comes out in the middle of the street outside of her new friend's house, screaming and yelling. This big lady with a fur on and had a gun in her hand.
Oh, female pimp?
Possibly.
Okay.
I'm not going to say the name of the person because I could say her name, but I'm not.
Famous entity?
No.
Okay.
I don't know if she's famous. She
Okay.
could have been. She might have been arrested for something like that. But she said, "Get the F out the car, you punk." And, I'm sorry that I said that.
Came out of nowhere, yeah.
Sorry, dude, that's what she called us.
It caught me off guard.
I mean, this
Got
is
it.
pimp language.
Got it, okay.
You punk bees.
Sure.
And I'm telling you, it's like
Yeah.
cold outside.
So this is out of nowhere, right? From all you
Yeah.
know, it's a nice guy.
And so we get out of the car and she grabs the keys from my friend's hand. That's my car. Get the F out of here, you punk. Da 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 da. And next thing you know, here comes my friend's new boyfriend.
Okay.
What you doing? Give her back the keys right now. That's my work. Give her the keys. So I didn't understand what that meant.
Okay.
I didn't
It's a
understand what
little
he
bit
was
ridiculous,
saying.
yeah.
Like, that's your work? What are you talking about? That's your work.
So you don't know the
Now it
lingo
all
back then.
connects later.
Yeah, okay.
Because guess what he was saying to her? Stand down. That's my new girl I'm about to turn out.
He's putting her in the stable.
He's going to put her in the stable.
Okay.
Yeah.
She doesn't even know it.
Doesn't know it.
Got it.
She's not turned out yet.
So stable
Okay.
meaning the group of women that live with an individual pimp that he's...
Or around him or
Okay.
in the family. Because not all stable women live together with the same pimp.
Got it.
Like, he'll come and visit each girl at each house, whatever.
So does this same guy does he bring you into his stable?
No.
Okay.
Never. I mean, we joked about it, by the way. I'll never forget the night that we were joking, like, "Oh, I wish you would try to get me in your stable." Pah! Like, really, dude? I would never be with you. You're with my friend. Hello. I don't share, body parts. You feel me? I don't share body parts. But that night was funny because he spit a whole thing of rice in my face.
Why
We were
was
in
he spitting rice
California.
in your face?
Because I cussed him out. I don't ever let anyone...
What? He spit rice in your face?
Yeah, we were staying at a hotel, me and her and him, because we had to spend the night before we went to Vegas.
Okay.
Because it was snowing out, and so they made us, like, they shut the road down
So
on
you're
the
actively hanging
I-15.
out from Minneapolis.
Well, this was after we went to Hawaii.
Okay.
This is after I got
So
turned
Hawaii's your first
out.
interaction?
Yeah,
You wanna
Hawaii's my first stop. So
Okay.
she ends up calling me, going, "I'm in Hawaii. I'm with so-and-so," of course, the guy, the
So
same guy.
real quick, she ends up continuing to date this guy.
Uh-huh.
She stays in contact. You hang out with her here and there. She eventually invites you to Hawaii. Is that
Yeah,
what
she
you're saying?
did.
Okay.
And I came
While
there.
you both now know he's a pimp.
No.
You
We
still don't
did-
know what's
still
going
didn't
on
know.
here. But-
Still didn't
Okay,
know.
in hindsight, you now know
Uh-huh.
the terminology he's
Yep.
using means she's
So then
okay.
I get there, and I worked the first night, and I didn't have a pimp. And I kept the money myself.
So what
and
did you
then-
do? What do you mean? You came to Hawaii. Your girlfriend invites you. The pimp that you're not yet aware is a pimp is there.
Yeah, but
What
then by the
happens?
time I got to Hawaii, we figured out that they were pimps.
How?
But, well, she told me that I don't have to pay him. He doesn't charge me. He just wants to be with me,
Charge to be a part of the trip?
be a part of the stable, be a part of his world.
Okay. Is
So-
she working?
Yeah, she's working.
Is she
Yeah.
doing what is she doing? She jumps straight into the deep end? Is there a gradual process for these
She's
girls?
was doing everything.
Okay.
I mean, I learned from her
Okay.
how to turn a trick. And the first one that I turned, I didn't have to have sex. It was so easy. $500. Take your clothes off. Turn around. Boom. You leave the room. Gone. We're done.
That was
Because
it.
it
You
was
just
two Japanese guys with my other friend. So I end up getting turned out. I learn about the game, and I get brought to a nightclub called Rascals. And guess who's all over there?
Tupac.
No, a bunch of pimps wearing
Oh.
like snakeskin pants, leather pants. I mean, if you want to talk about cheesy with gold chains
Yeah.
and diamond eyeglasses, I mean, diamond face watches and thick chains. I mean, we're talking like the real pimp game. We're talking sugar-free, the real pimping.
Okay.
Okay?
So pimps everywhere.
Oh my gosh, everywhere. And guess what? They're all walking around me, circling me like I'm a dog, and I'm a female dog in heat, and they're the male dogs trying to jump me.
And this is where?
In Hawaii. And I looked at him and I was like,
see.
I wish a pimp would. I'm never gonna get with y'all, none of y'all.
But you made an easy $500,
You know what they told me?
right?
Yeah, I made
Okay.
more than that. When I left Hawaii, I had a lot of money in my pocket.
How long were you in Hawaii?
Just for 2 weeks.
So for 2 weeks, you do one interaction where you
Big
have
bankroll when I left.
What happened?
I had a big bankroll when I left.
So you jumped into the deep end after that just the striptease thing,
To me, it was a lot. It was like, I think I had like 10 or 15 grand when I left Hawaii.
which is crazy money.
Well, for the 80s, so double that figure.
Plus you're
So it was,
you're how
I was
old
like
at this
30
time?
grand.
You're 19, 18?
I was a teenager, yeah.
This is crazy.
So this is what is crazier
Yeah.
is that she told me, and so did he, you're lucky you haven't gotten charged yet. I said, charged for what? He goes, you're all up in those pimps' faces bragging about being a hoe, and you didn't get charged. He goes, you're really lucky, Fallon. I was like, whatever. I wish a pimp would.
So you said Fallon.
Yeah.
When did you give yourself the name?
When I was in Hawaii. Fallon York.
Okay.
Mhm.
Fallon is what would the term be? Your like code name?
That's
Your-
my name in the game.
Okay.
So you pick a name to be in the game. You never use your real name. That's just not code.
Sure.
You don't use your real name because you don't want your friends or your family to find out what you're doing, especially if you're going to be advertised anywhere in the yellow pages. Back then it was yellow pages. It was newspapers and word of mouth, escort services. So you don't get advertised anywhere publicly because the internet wasn't alive back then,
Sure.
right? We were so underground back then. I mean, I am from the old school pimping. That's what they call it.
Sure.
And when I got back to Minnesota, I quit all 3 of my jobs. They call it square because when you're working as a girl that's selling herself or you have a pimp, you're in the game. That's
Yep.
what they call it, the game. Now, to me, it only makes it the game when you have folks. So a folks is your family. It's your pimp and the other girls.
You're not as stable at this point.
Nope.
Okay.
Didn't want to be in one. Why would I share my man with another woman?
That's a
And
good
then why would I
question.
even give this money that I'm risking my life for? Why would I give it to someone else? That doesn't make any sense. Does it make sense to you?
Well, I think you're going to explain why a lot of people do, but from this knowledge, I would say no. You're making a ton of money. You don't need a middleman.
Nope.
I imagine you're procuring your own sales
Yeah.
here. Walk up. I also, at this point, I don't know how you're collecting clients or customers or tricks and johns.
Well, I signed up for the escort
This
service.
is 2 weeks, right?
Uh-huh.
It's a 2 week speed run
Yeah.
of learning how to do all this.
Yep.
It's not a lot of time.
We were walking the street.
And just saying, hey,
Yep.
you want to have sex?
Yep.
And they're like, yeah.
In Japanese, also ni ikimasho.
And they're like,
hi.
so they have Caucasian
Ikimashou.
fetish. They're in.
Yeah.
And you charge them how much?
$500 just to start.
And then
$1,000.
an hour?
No.
Okay. So still big money.
A party.
Got
One
it.
party.
Sure.
One round.
Sure.
Which does not mean sex.
Got it.
It could be anything but sex. If you really want sex, that's $1,000.
So you learned how to
Maybe
do all this
2,000.
in 2 weeks.
It just depends on
Yeah.
how much that guy has. Like, you could tell one guy from another. This guy I'm going to charge $5,000. This guy I'm going to charge $3,000. This other guy I'm going to charge $2,000. This other guy I'm going to charge $1,500. Because if he doesn't have the money, how are you going to get it from him?
So you're
You can't
assessing
screen blood from a
watches,
turnip. Yeah,
clothing.
You can't squeeze blood from a turnip if they don't have it, right? So, yeah, you look around the room. You look at their wallet. I mean, sometimes they're not actually in the hotel room that they got with their wife, or it's not their real hotel room. It's some cheesy divey place. But they actually have a 5-star hotel suite somewhere that they haven't even brought you into because they don't want you to know they have that. Because if you see the suite, you're going to say, oh, it's $5,000.
Got
Oh,
it.
it's $10,000. Because anyone that does this has to be a semi-smart, when it comes to high-class escorting. They have
So
to
this
be
time you're a
intelligent.
new escort though, right?
Yeah.
Or would you even consider yourself an escort at this point? Or is it just 2 weeks of let's see what happens. Let's goof around and
I never admitted to anyone I was a prostitute.
yeah,
It was a hard word for me to swallow.
sure.
I mean, it sounds weird to say it like that because we're talking about sex. But no pun intended.
Sure.
But
Because it's 2 weeks,
honestly,
right? It's 14 days.
yeah,
That's not a lot
and
it's not your identity yet,
you
right?
know, I got back to Minnesota and I was like, why am I working this square job? Like, why am I slaving every day, sitting at this desk, and I'm making $3.47 an hour? This is ridiculous. About to get a raise. I think I was going to get like $4.50 an hour, and I had gotten promoted twice within the company. And then I was working my DeLuno's Pizza job and my Ichiban job, which is the
Teppanyaki?
high-class Japanese restaurant.
Yeah.
Very nice restaurant. And I just thought, you know, I'm slaving away, working like 60, 80 hours a week. This is crazy. What am I doing? You know what? I'm going to quit all my jobs and work the escort services at night. And then
In
lie to all,
Minneapolis.
and lie to all my friends. Yep, and that's what
Okay.
I did. But I almost got killed twice, so I decided not to do it anymore. I worked for Bruce and Maggie. They had their own escort service, and they advertised themselves in Yellow Pages. You could find their ads.
Bruce and Maggie it was
Bruce
called.
and Maggie was their name.
And it was advertised as a call girls for sex?
I'm pretty sure that it was a pimp and his girl,
Okay.
and I worked for them. And they never tried to take more money than I owed them. So let's say because back then in Minnesota, they would tell the customer it's $40 to send the girl to you, and then she's going to negotiate the tip when she gets there over the phone. So they would give us a call, they would give us the phone number, and then I would call the potential client, aka buyer, and I would negotiate a price before I got there, which really was not good, because I'd rather be in someone's face than, you know, to try to get it over the phone.
So when you negotiate a price with these two people, what percentage of whatever the rate was going towards them?
No, they would just take the 40 and then you tip
They
the
take
phone
the 40.
girl.
So
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
a call
and,
girl?
And then
or-
you tip the phone girl. Like you're going to tip
Phone girl.
Maggie something. Like
Okay.
you're going to give her 20 or $40, whatever it looks like.
So they're a
'Cause
middleman.
if you can get 500, you're not going to tell them that. You just give them the base fee. You never tell them what your tip is.
Okay.
Because that's stupid. Because why would you? Because then they'll tell you, give it half. So I just already had game inside of me. Like, I'm not going to tell them what I made. Come on, I'm not stupid. But Minnesota men didn't have a lot of money. They were a lot different than the Japanese men. They just didn't have the money to spend. A lot of these Minnesota men that were calling were like hard-working, blue-class collar workers, right?
Yeah.
So it's funny because a couple that I did see that actually gave me more money than I would have thought, one pulled out a gun, a shotgun on me, raped me, and one pulled out a machete,
This is at age.
held it to my neck. I was still a teenager.
Okay.
So I quit, Tyler. It freaked me out.
Sure.
It freaked me out. I mean, coming home from being raped, how do you fall asleep at night? And then I'm looking over my shoulder constantly going, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And so
Well, it begs the question, how do you even end up coming back to this industry?
I
right?
needed to find safety
Okay.
at this point. And I knew I could never go back. I didn't want to go back to a normal job. I just didn't. I just didn't feel like it was worth it. Like, why would I go to a regular job when I know I could sell myself and make a lot of money quickly?
Sure.
Right? So I started working at the bachelor party service.
Okay.
I looked it up in the phone book. Yep. And I decided that I was going to be a stripper.
Okay.
And because I'm a pretty good dancer. So, hey, I'm the original shake the butt thing. You know, like I honestly like
Oh, you were the original twerker. Like,
Probably.
You invented twerking,
Yeah.
essentially?
Yeah.
I see.
no one
I
ever
believe you,
saw it though
honestly,
because we
yeah.
didn't have videos back then and
Sure.
we didn't have like, you know, we didn't have actual internet, but
So this is a step down from the expectations, right? And
well,
probably way
and
less dangerous.
I knew that bachelor parties weren't going to make me a lot of money,
Sure.
but at least I knew that it would be solid income on the weekend.
Okay.
I could potentially make, you know, from each party anywhere from $300 to $600 in tips, right? But didn't always work that way. Some parties were only $150 in tips, and double it with today's money because you have to think about the middle 80s,
Like,
right?
Okay, yeah.
And so
You're a
one of my
stripper.
drivers, I told him, I was like, I got to make more money. So I need you to guard the door because I'm going to solicit the customers. He goes, what do you mean? I said, I'm going to offer extras. If somebody wants some extra, we're going to go into the back and get it done.
Was this common among strippers at the time?
Sometimes, yeah.
Okay. This is a known
And-
practice, a little upsell.
Well, me and my friend Angel, it was so funny because her and I were a team. I would tag team her. I'm like, okay, you see these 2-3 guys over here? You go them. I'll go with these 2 or 3 guys here. And there's like, 30 guys at the party. We're like picking out what guys we're going to solicit and how much we're going to ask them for. And no one really had a lot of money. Like $100, $200, $50. Like, it was awful money. And I hated it. I was like, this is so gross. I'm demeaning myself. And so I thought, you know what? I'll work at the strip club. I can meet better people there. People come to see us. Why wouldn't they pay more? And, while that was a good idea for a minute, because I did meet men that had more money that became my regulars. I had men that would pay my rent for me. I had men that would pay for my car payment, right? And this is a few months that went by. And then I finally met my boyfriend, which that whole time I was seeing a couple different men, but they didn't know what I did for a living. Once I told one of my musician men friends, they were just shocked, like, what? He's the one that had me, like, I got really convicted, and he was hanging around all the Prince guys, and he was telling me, Annie, I don't know why you have that pager, but I think that you're a drug dealer. And I go, oh, no, I'm not a drug dealer.
Sure.
I'm a different type of dealer.
And he
just
was
fill
not.
in the blank.
Yeah.
I deal something else. Starts with a P. Yeah. So, nope, I'm not a drug dealer. And he was just shocked. He's like, oh my gosh. He's like, well, I'm a Christian. And he pulled out the Bible on me.
Okay.
Started showing me the story with, Mary Magdalene, and, showed me the story of the woman in adultery. And I started crying.
Yeah.
I was like, why are you bringing this up to me right now? He goes, because Jesus forgives you.
Okay.
So I told him, well, I'm working at the strip club and I'm not going to turn any more tricks.
Yeah.
And that's what I really thought was going to happen. But then when I met my boyfriend, I didn't want that to be like that anymore. I wanted to prove that I could make money. And I bragged to him that I was turning tricks on the side.
You bragged to your boyfriend that you're having sex
My
with.
new boyfriend, the one that came into the strip club.
That seems like a bad move, right?
Well,
What's the psychology behind that?
I was like, if he's mad at me, he's not the one for me then.
That's kind of bold, right?
I don't care.
Okay. So at the time you didn't care. In
I didn't
hindsight, do
care.
you think it's ridiculous?
Well, yeah, because usually a man that agrees with you like that is going to be your pimp.
Got it.
That means he's going to probably pimp on you.
Did he become your pimp?
Yes, he did.
Okay. This adds up.
He was actually dealing drugs, and he had girls, which I didn't know about.
Okay.
One of his girls actually worked at Arby's, and she would turn tricks on the side. She was, I believe, 14, 15. She said she remembers me going through the drive-thru, knowing who I was, that I was Fallon, that I was one of the girls, but not to say anything. Don't say nothing. That's one of my girls. And I would get a chicken cordon bleu, kind of like clockwork. Certain day I would work that would be close to the strip club. I'd go in the drive-thru and get my chicken cordon bleu with extra mayonnaise because I love it.
Sure. Arby's
And
is underrated, by the way.
they don't have that sandwich anymore, Tyler. I'm
know.
so mad at them. That was my favorite
Place
thing.
doesn't get the respect.
The
it
only reason
deserves.
why I ever went to Arby's was to go get the chicken cordon bleu sandwich. But anyway, she saw me, and I remember her telling me, because she was my wife-in-law.
She was your
Didn't know it.
wife-in-law.
Mm-hmm.
Wife-in-law.
Yeah. Wife-in-law
Okay.
is someone that shares the same pimp with you.
So she's 14, which is a whole other.
I didn't know she was part of our stable, though.
Got it.
She told me this later after she got to Vegas.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're gonna, I'm sure, explain to me how you end up in Vegas. But you
Yeah,
meet your
well,
first
that was
real
my
pimp,
idea.
right?
That was my idea. I never was forced by him in Minnesota to be with him.
Okay.
He didn't give me a choice.
What do you mean?
He just stayed with me, and he lived with me. He moved in with me.
How did you meet this guy?
I met him at the strip club.
Okay.
He came in. He was a client.
Do you think he was vetting more additions to the stable?
Yes, that's
Okay.
why he came into the strip club, to find another girl.
And you took the bait unknowingly.
I did.
Is he an older guy?
7 years older than me.
Okay. It's not dramatically older, but
No.
he's been in the game for a minute at least.
Since he was a very young teenager.
Okay.
Probably like 13,
Got
14. Yeah. So he knew what he was doing. And my girlfriend called me from Vegas and told me that I'm making all kinds of money here. Girl, you need to get down here. This is the place. I'm making like thousands upon thousands every night. You're going to trip out when you get down here. So if you think about Las Vegas was double the money, triple the money, quadruple the money than Minnesota or even Hawaii. And the agency fee down here was $125 to $275 per hour, just the agency fee. That does not include any tips above and beyond. Any tips above and beyond that on a call would be our fee we would make to have, the other parts done. Take care of the person that's buying. And if you look on the strip now, you have escort services that are charging $50, $69, $75, $99. And that girl doesn't get a dime of that money. She goes out on calls and then she tips the phone girl for getting her the job. So
I want to break down the economics of the current escorts out there. But before that, you come to Vegas with how many friends of yours?
I was just by myself.
Okay. Not you leave your pimp behind in Minneapolis?
No, well, I was here first before him.
Okay.
I turned my first trick in Vegas before I even met him.
Got it.
At Caesar's Palace.
Okay.
With my dad's sweater on.
And you moved here? You said, I'm never coming back to Minneapolis?
I didn't move here until my pimp came with me.
Got it. So you're testing the fields out here, seeing if it's viable to make a bunch of money? Or?
I knew it was.
Okay.
I had already tested it.
Got it.
I was blown away by the money that was here.
First client, you made dramatically more?
The first guy, I made $500.
Okay.
And the second guy I made $800.
Okay.
I think the third one I made like $750. So it was very higher end money.
Yep.
And then I'll never forget this one night. I told the guy it's $2,000. He just handed me the money, and I was like, "Whoa! I can ask for more than $500." So I started asking everyone for $2,000.
Sure. Set your own prices, right?
But you know what? You didn't always get that money.
Got it.
Didn't always. I mean, you could say to someone it's $5,000, and they would be like, "What are you gonna do for me?" Well, I'll be here for a couple hours. And they thought that was pretty good, But it doesn't mean you'll get that money. Like nowadays, because the internet is the way it is, nobody's making that kind of money. Nobody.
Okay. Did you come to the scene at the perfect time, would you say? Is this the peak of Las Vegas
it was
debauchery
certainly,
in some ways?
It was certainly right before escorting went online.
Okay.
So it's right on the cusp of the secrecy and the underground world that it used to be. So because the demand was so high, we could charge what we wanted.
And you did.
I did.
Yeah.
And trust me, the boyfriend turned pimp, the first night that I got here, like I told you before, Tyler, he beat me so bad and made me understand he was my boss. And the part that hurt the worst was the fact that I loved him. Oh man, this is hard.
Take a minute.
I just remember the first time he grabbed my hair and he dragged me on the floor. I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know he was going to beat me down. I had no idea he was going to take me in the back. Thank you. That he was going to tell me that I was his bitch and I'm going to be your pimp now. You're my hoe. You're disrespecting the game. Don't you know that I fucking love you? You fucking bitch. And he's hitting me over and over. And I'm just sitting there, stop. And he wouldn't stop. He kept hitting me. And by the time it got done, I was bleeding out of my nose and my ears and my eyes. He beat me so bad. And then he brought me into the room of my girlfriend's house. And he locked me in there. And he took my pager away from me and my identification. And everything that I had. And what sucks, Tyler, is I stayed with him.
Yeah.
I was afraid. I didn't want to leave. Because I thought he would kill me. Because that's what pimps do. Gorilla pimps, when you leave them, they don't let you leave. They keep everything and they beat you down. And they torture you. And they stalk you. And they make you feel like you're nothing. I don't know why I'm crying so much right now. I have no idea. I think I've been holding this in for years. But
We can take a minute.
oh
Yeah.
gosh.
Need a little commercial break here.
Yeah.
Minus the commercial.
I just
break, yeah.
I think that's why it hurts me when people say that, you know, you got into the game and you liked it and you enjoyed it and you're doing this because you love to make money for sex, and they have no idea.
Yeah.
They have no idea what it's done to my soul. And then when I know that every trick after I had to heal, he hid me at this place called the Del Mar for almost 3 weeks. Because my bruises had to go away and my puffiness on my face. And then he started bringing me like food and massaging my back and rubbing my body and kissing me and telling me he loved me and he was sorry. And you see, if you didn't get on a line, I wouldn't have had to do this to you. It's like, you're a liar. You're a liar. You don't love me. And I was saying these things to him. I would be like, you're lying to me. So we had a lot of fights over that. But I stayed with him for 5 years.
So
it's very embarrassing because I think about the times that I could have left. I did leave a couple times, but he kidnapped me back. And I always fell for I'm sorry and I'll never hit you again. I kept falling for it.
Was this the first moment of betrayal and you realize this is kind of not what you signed up for?
Yeah.
Okay.
It really shocked me. That's why I'm crying right now. I think so much because I was just a young girl. I didn't know about what life was about. And see, when you get hooked up with a pimp like that, it turns into complex trauma. I had already had complex trauma from being a little young girl and my family and my dad abusing my mother in front of me. So it's not like I gave it permission or a name.
Yeah.
But this is what happens to victims of trafficking that are gorilla pimped, is they get threatened, coerced, they get beat, they get told if you can't leave, and if you try to leave, I'm gonna take care of that too. And he had a gun and guns, I should say, several.
So this is heavy.
I know it's hard to finish. We're gonna have to do part 2 later.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah. So this is someone you love, you actively love, who betrays you emotionally, physically, violates you out of nowhere. Is this the first
It shocked me. Yes.
Okay.
Well, actually, to be honest with you, if someone I have a book out. It's called Fallen, Out of the Sex Industry and Into the Arms of the Savior. But there's an incident in there that I talk about. They'll just have to get the book.
Yeah.
That he
Link
did
in
choke me.
description.
He choked me one time at a gas station. And I should have known. I should have known something was wrong. But I went back to him.
Yeah.
Because I hung up on him. And he didn't show up for something and he was late. So I clicked him on the phone. And I was like, screw you, you know. And he found me at a gas station because I said I'm going to the club tonight. And he found me and he choked me. And I think he punched me because I have pictures from that incident. Gave me a black eye. But I went back to him.
Yeah.
I didn't know he was a pimp still then. I didn't know, but I accepted his apology. Like, how dumb of me is that? How dumb.
But you're a kid, right?
Yeah.
It's not your fault.
Well, your brain cells aren't fully developed
Yeah.
until you're 25. So just warnings for you.
Yeah.
You're still learning.
Sure.
So your full capacity of your brain's not going to stop growing until it's about 25, 26, scientifically. So your responses to every human situation and interaction, your body's still learning. You're kind of like your gait and your reaction and your thought processes. And so I'm still a young girl in my mind. Now, remember this, that as a young girl, I was abused. So because of that, my brain's even lesser developed.
And
Because when you don't have the cognitive ability to understand what abuse is as a child, your brain doesn't fully develop in the right, say, let's pretend I was 18 or 19.
Okay. Okay.
But Tyler, in all reality, I was probably 13 in my mind.
You were stuck.
I was stuck. Yeah.
Okay.
So I was this young, naive, believing girl that everybody can change and everyone needs to be forgiven. And I watched my mom forgive my dad over and over and over and over. So that pattern permeated to my real life, unfortunately.
So I want you to explain some of the reasons why women kind of get caught in this emotional manipulation and this grooming cycle. But for you, would you say you saw a sort of paternal father figure in this first pimp?
Yeah,
hindsight?
kind of. I think a father figure, but also like a friend.
Okay.
I felt like he was my friend. I know that sounds ridiculous,
Sure.
but he understood me. He knew I sold my body, but he still chose to love me anyway, which love isn't hitting. Just so everyone knows. Love isn't titting. And it's certainly not trafficking someone.
Sure.
And it's certainly not calling them names with BITCHs and FUs and all these different words that he used towards me. It's not that. But he bought me things with my own money. He bought me rings and diamonds and necklaces, and I had a diamond face watch, and said he bought me a car even though it's in his name.
This is the money you were making
Yes.
for him?
Yes.
Okay.
But when you leave a pimp, you leave with nothing. A lot of people quote me, by the way, because I was the first one to ever say that.
Okay.
So I'll say it again. When you leave a pimp, you leave with nothing. And that means NOTHING. Nothing. Look it up in the dictionary.
Sure.
It means nothing. Right? Nada. If you leave with anything, he'll find you and charge you. Or even if you don't leave with anything, they will still find you. And they will hunt you down. And they will hurt you. And he did do that.
Okay, so
He scared me. Jumped out of my closet. Jumped out of my balcony. Attacked me. Jumped me out of a gas station. Was watching me. Had binoculars in his car. Making every move I did. Like, it's crazy. Like, if you think you can get away from these abusive people that are trafficking you, and it's so simple, then try. I don't want to tempt people, but please get some help. If you're going to leave your pimp, your trafficker, you need to get help. You need to get law enforcement involved because he needs to go to jail, or she needs to go to jail.
yeah,
Right?
he's currently not in jail.
Or they.
Yeah.
or trans, whoever it is. Whoever's pimping you.
Sure.
Because it takes all, I mean, male, female. Nowadays we have different genders, so anyone can pimp you. It doesn't matter who it is. Anybody can become a pimp.
Sure. So for 5 years you're with him, and at this point you realize you're enslaved to him. You have to do certain things, or you get beat down. What's the takeaway from that
I had to
incident?
do whatever he wanted. I had to turn
Okay.
other girls out
Okay.
that he brought home. I had to bring them on calls with me. I had to show them the ropes because I was the bottom girl.
Yeah.
And the
girl
bottom girl
means-
is someone that's been there the longest usually, or the one the pimp picks that's going to watch the girls when he's out of town
Okay.
if they're working in the same city.
So you're the boss.
Or if they're from another city, you still have to watch over them to make sure they're going to work, they're not getting on drugs, running off, they're not disrespecting the stable, and that means by flirting with another guy, choosing up with another pimp, that means giving another pimp their money and leaving the stable, and just making sure they're in pocket. In pocket means obeying all the rules of that stable. So
Okay.
it's a poly lifestyle, basically.
It sounds like Sister Wives, actually.
Yeah. It you know what's funny? That show, not to make it funny, but
Yeah.
it's, to me, a lot like without the violence.
Pimping?
It's a lot. The psychological warfare that those poor ladies go through,
Yeah.
wondering if their husband loves them, that's a valid question. Does he love them? If he did, wouldn't they be enough, Tyler?
I think so.
Why does he have to have 5 women, 4 women, 3, whatever it is? Why?
Sure.
If you love me, I'm not enough?
Apparently not for that guy, right?
And
what's
what gives him the right to sit on a throne like that and to have to share his manhood with all of them?
Sure.
And
Like-
then why do they have to go to work?
Well, they also have to parent.
Where's his
the
job?
kid. Yeah.
I have questions.
No, it's the great question. They also have to like co-parent the kids that are not theirs, right? They're like parenting the other girl's kids. It sounds like the responsibility you had as the
It would
bottom
be
girl
that,
was.
but except we didn't have children in our stable.
But you have to
except
make
for-
sure everyone's doing their
Except
thing.
for the underage girls he brought into the stable. Those were children. Which, when I found out they were, I got rid of them as fast as I could.
And where is this pimp getting kids to live in his house with you guys?
Minnesota.
So he's actively trafficking children.
Yeah.
Like kidnapping them, just saying, "Hey,
No,
come with me.
he
Let's
didn't
make
have
some
to
money."
Well, I mean, yes, technically they were kidnapped
Sure.
because he took them across state lines
But he's
and
not
got
putting
in his
them
car.
in a bag in the back of a van,
No.
right? This is
They willingly go with him.
okay.
He's already built a relationship with them.
This is all emotional.
He's already had
manipulation
sex
and-
with them. He's already established that I'm the man. I love you. Come with me. And they go, okay. I'll buy you a new outfit. Okay. I'll get you your nails done. Okay. They come with him.
Where are these girls from? Is it the same backstory of broken families?
Yes.
Can you explain the characteristics of someone who's
So
liable
some
to
of
get
these
picked
ladies
by these
don't.
guys?
They don't have dads.
Okay.
They didn't have dads. I should say children. They didn't have dads. They didn't have like a mother, or they're from foster care, or they're staying with their grandma and grandpa, or they're staying with their friend. Like, they just don't have a good family base. The nuclear family model is
Sure.
not intact. It's disrupted. And so this is the kind of people that pimps prey on.
So pimps on the prowl for any opportunity anywhere at any time? Is that how these guys work?
Well,
Is he a 14-year-old?
he got these girls from the walking home from school.
Huh?
He got them walking home from school. He met
It's
them.
Pulled up in a flashy car and
Yep.
said, "Hey."
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Flashy diamonds, flashy car, flashy cash.
Okay.
And they got in the car and they started talking to him. So he started a relationship with them and just kept talking to him.
And what are the families aware that their kids in Vegas now selling their body?
No, they weren't. Most
Okay.
of them weren't. No.
They're just missing children?
They weren't reported missing at the time. No, I don't believe so.
It seems like something that wouldn't be able to happen today, but it does?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. I did have one of the mothers call me up and cuss me out about
Okay.
10 years ago. And that girl that I helped rescue back to Minnesota, she actually came to visit me with her brother and thanked
Okay.
me, which was really cool. She came to my church and thanked me.
How dangerous was it for you to send these girls out of the house? Is that putting a target on your back?
Yeah, I could have gotten killed.
Okay. Is that something he would do? Just to prove a point to the other girls?
I believe so.
Yeah. So these
I,
guys...
I see the violence that he's capable of,
yeah.
and he is very, very capable of that. Yeah, so it was really, really hard for me and really, really traumatic. There's a lot of like feelings of I should have left early, I should have taken this money, I should have done that, I should have done this. But then I think about the girls that I did help along the way, and I think about if I wasn't there, would I have helped them? I couldn't have helped them. So then I think about there's a reason why I stayed. Maybe God had a plan. And then a girl that he picked up a new girl that was 18. Congratulations, you're finally picking up girls of age, huh? So we drove her back down to Vegas. She came with us, and I told her. I kind of got close to her. She's super sweet. And I said to her, hey, I'm going to leave, and I need you to cover my back. I need you not to
What do
tell.
you mean by that? Just not
I
snitch
told
on
her I
you?
was
Is that-
done. I said I was done. I'm never coming back. And I want you to cover my back. I want you to lie to him. Don't tell him where I'm at. I'm stashing right now. And I took a chance because I didn't know if she was going to snitch on me or not. And
Do you know what happened to her?
yeah, she's doing really well right now.
Okay.
Yep. She married him, actually. She married him.
Right now?
No.
Okay.
They're not together anymore.
Got it.
But she was in love with him like me. He had such charisma. I cannot explain it. Every girl I met loved him, Tyler. They loved him. It's crazy. Like insane. I can't explain it.
Sure.
I don't know how he did this, but there was a spell he put on us. Very, very, it was very magical.
Do you think it was
Weird.
the money and
It might have
the
been some
things
witchcraft, I'm thinking.
Actually, is
Yeah,
that,
something. Some kind of witchcraft. I don't
Okay.
know. I just think I think I thought I loved him.
Yeah.
And this is what the scary part is. All those girls did too. Whether they were 18 or 14 or 15 or 16, they all felt they loved him. I didn't look my age, by the way.
What do you mean? You looked younger, older?
I looked like I was 14 or 15.
Okay. So the customers you're acquiring at that time, you're appealing to.
If you see a picture of me,
Yeah.
there's a picture of me with my red dress on
Okay.
and my long blonde hair that I've given you. That picture, how old do I look in that picture?
I'm trying to think which photo. Was
I
it
look,
used in
I
the
look
video?
about 15.
Okay.
I look very young. You see my face?
Definitely like early 20. I mean, we'll have to see the photo, yeah.
I
but-
had a baby face.
Sure.
And so I used to go on calls for my escort service, barely 18.
18.
Barely 18. That was my ad.
Oh, you would. I see.
Barely 18.
Oh, that was how you advertise yourself.
That's how they advertise me.
That's kind of brutal.
Yeah.
That's brutal.
My escort service would advertise me as I'm not 18 yet.
Sure.
So I'd get to the room and the guys would say, "How old are you?" I would say 16. Oh, okay, good. And they would never question me.
Okay.
They loved it. They loved it.
Yeah, that's tragic.
And I had a guy say to me one time, he got really mad. He goes, "You were supposed to be 13. I said, "Well, I'm 16, sir."
And you're like, what, 20 at this time? 21?
I was 19.
Oh, you're still, okay, got it. You're
Yeah.
still quite young.
Yeah.
These are some creeps
Yeah.
you're dealing with, right?
Yeah.
Do you realize these guys are unusual at the time, or is it just another day in, out, kind of turn the mind off a little bit?
Well, that's the thing. You disassociate. So being trafficked, especially, you disassociate. If it's your own money, I don't know if it would feel the same, but I suspect it would be just as bad
Okay.
eventually, right? But knowing that I'm going home to someone that I think loves me was my motivation. It wasn't the money anymore.
Okay.
Now it was build the cash for my boyfriend, get him starting the business that we're going to have, stack up that money. He controls all the money and do what he says. I was totally magnetized, totally hypnotized, and in robot order. Robot. It was all robotic.
Did you guys share a dream together?
Yeah.
You and this first pimp? Did he sell you a vision for the future of
Yeah.
you and him together?
He used to iron the $100 bills.
Okay.
He'd iron them.
What's the symbolic meaning of that? What does that mean?
He liked to iron them to make them look nice and neat so he could wrap them in the $100 bands
Okay.
and the $5,000 bands.
Sure.
And he would do that to make himself feel good, I think. He'd put it in the safe, and then he'd count the money in front of me.
Did you say we're going to do anything with this money together? We're going to fly off into the sunset one day and start a family?
We're going to start a business.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the business was the baby.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we never did.
And he has a version of that for every girl, you think?
He was gambling the money on the craps tables.
Okay. Did you see him out there gambling?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. Is that a red flag?
Yeah, it is.
Is that when you say, hey, I need to get out of this situation? He's a liar?
I mean, even before that.
Sure.
But I confronted him about gambling, and I got beat down really bad.
Okay.
So I kept my mouth shut. I couldn't question what he was doing with the money. It's not my business.
Sure.
With a pimp, you're not allowed to ask where the money's going. You're not allowed to ask to see the money or anything. You're not allowed to have bank account, nothing.
So what's the motive for this pimp?
Relationship. For me.
What about for him? Why does he do this? Gambling the money away.
Money.
Is he wealthy? Does he make significant money off of you and the other girls?
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about it, it's potential. 350, 500,000, 750, 100, $1 million a girl a year minimum.
It's a lot.
Yeah. Depends on what girl he gets too.
Sure.
So, not to build that profession up, whereas we're not doing that. We're
Sure.
keeping raw realities in this conversation. The thing is that there's victims in this conversation, Tyler. We
Yeah.
need to make sure that is a fact. I think that me telling this story about how it felt the first time I ever got beat down. I don't think I've ever cried that hard in a long time, by the way. I got triggered because maybe, I don't know, maybe the audience needs to see that, needs to understand.
What do you think the audience misunderstands about someone who's in the escort business?
That's being pimped.
Yep. And human trafficked. And
Yeah. So that the girls, and I'm going to say this for the men out there,
yeah.
that you're potentially calling, that you are participating in trafficking when you're purchasing a female or a male or a trans, whoever you're buying. You are purchasing a human being, and this person has no control over their money, where they live, how they live, what they eat, how they come and go, and they're enslaved right in front of you without bars or handcuffs. They're just enslaved because in their mind they believe that they're safe, that someone loves them, that someone's going to take care of them, that someone's going to eventually get them out of this business. They believe all these lies. Oh, and one day I'm going to get married to you too. We're going to have babies and children, whatever, right?
Sure.
So they sell you this dream, and it's such a strong vision that you believe it. Your mind gets completely mesmerized by, you get caught up in the vision, and you want to believe it's true. But when you start getting beat, when it starts to become monotonous day in and day out with your life, where you're making all this money, they're treating you like junk. You feel like the relationship's falling apart. You feel like they're, because when I didn't do what he said, he didn't always beat me every time. He would just pull back and not be with me for like a week. He would go be with one of the other girls and then starve me for attention. So then I would get back in line. I would get back in his good graces, and then he would come around again.
And it always worked.
And in the meantime, I had to be stacking my money,
Sure.
right? I had to be making that big money. And so by the time he saw me after a week or two, I better have that money. And if I didn't have that money, that's when the beatdown comes. What were you doing this whole time?
Okay.
I don't care how mad you are at me, B. You need to have that money together. Like, you're programmed to get that money. Because that's what you do. You get the money for daddy. And then you break yourself.
What do you mean by break yourself?
That means you give whatever you have. Whatever you saved. You give it all. All of it.
So, how do you survive? You get an allowance. You're truly...
You get $5 to buy condoms.
Okay.
Or 10, because nowadays they cost more. And I was eating at Burger King. I was getting the 99-cent Whopper when it was 99 cents.
Okay.
Yeah. Or McDonald's Big Mac for $2.50.
So is part of the strategy on their end to treat you guys like shit and
Part
give
of it,
you
yeah.
so little to where you have to
Yep.
depend on them?
Yep.
Okay.
You have to depend on them for everything.
There's no world where you would not give him all the money. Is that a death sentence?
Yes, if you tell him you're not going to give him the money, then you can't be with him.
What if you don't
It's
tell him?
all or nothing. Well, if you don't tell him, you have to hide the money, which I did do that.
How did that
stashed
play
it.
out?
I stashed money with my friends. I stashed money right under his nose, under the carpet, inside statues. I sure did.
Yeah.
And that's how I got away.
Tell me about that. How'd you get away from this first pimp?
So, several different times I got away. But,
What about the final escape?
well, the final escape was actually in a trunk of a car. And it's after he had cut. Oh, shoot, that's wrong. Never mind. I keep getting my story messed up. Believe it or not, I came back to him after he kidnapped me and cut all my hair off. I came back to him. The final escape was when that girl from Minnesota joined the stable,
That's right.
the 18-year-old. And I told her, look, I'm going to leave, and I need you to cover for me. So he went out of town to go get a couple new girls in Minnesota, and I ended up leaving when he left.
Okay. And you had how much cash on hand at this point?
I think I had about 10 grand
Just enough to get out of there and start something?
to go get my own place and stuff. Yeah.
And is the instinct to go back to your family, to find some old friends? Where do you go?
I just knew, Tyler, that I would never be with him again.
Okay.
And the instinct is to find a protector. So I was going out to the clubs a lot. I was single for a while. It's
Okay.
called renegading. And I was going out to the clubs a lot, like almost every night.
And you're still working at this time?
A little bit.
Okay.
Just kind of barely making enough, just enough to get by, enough to have furniture in my apartment and pay the bills. I just didn't care anymore because I think I just needed a break.
Yeah.
I just needed just to relax and rest. I probably should have flown out to Hawaii or one of the islands and just laid on the beach, but I didn't, you know.
Okay.
But I met a guy in the nightclub, another nightclub, at the Shark nightclub, and he was a dancer in a show, and he became my next pimp. Believe it or not. I mean, when people read my story, they're like, "What are you doing, Annie? What are you doing?"
Yeah.
So I taught him how to act like a pimp at the nightclub so that he could pretend he was my pimp. And then he wouldn't hurt me in real life. Like, he would just be a stand-in double acting like he's my pimp. So I staged like a couple scenarios where we were sitting at the bar and there were some pimps at the bar that knew my ex-pimp and that they could see me giving him a stack of money and him putting it in his jacket. And I did that.
So you created a safeguard for
A
yourself.
fake pimp.
And he became a real pimp?
He did. Later on. Not right away,
That's insane.
but later on.
So you accidentally he became corrupted by this duty? What happened there?
Yeah, it's hard to explain. Like, he didn't take all the money
Yeah.
in the beginning. Towards the end, I was really sick with cancer and Hodgkin's lymphoma,
Okay.
and I was trying to recover. So there were a lot of days I wasn't working because I was super sick. He tried to hold that against me too. He used to call me Cancer Bee. But he was a stalker and an emotional abuser and a physical abuser, but not as bad as the other pimp was.
Okay.
So he was more of like a Romeo / a little bit of a gorilla pimp. And he would, like, as long as I gave him enough money for the things he wanted, he was happy with me having whatever.
So when you met him, was he a nice guy from what
Yeah.
you knew?
I thought he was.
He just became a villain?
Yeah.
Just all the money. So when you handed it to him.
He was doing drugs too,
Okay.
which was really horrible. Just super horrible.
So you trusted him initially, right?
Yes.
This is a guy I can use as a front.
I have nightmares about both of them, by the way.
Yeah.
Both being trapped with each of them and the house burning up and me staying in the house with smoke because he made me buy bars for the house that we lived in. He made me buy bars for the doors and the windows.
Okay.
So I couldn't escape. So I literally was in jail.
How long?
It was so, and he would rape me and asphyxiate me and choke me to show me who's in power. It was a nightmare relationship, like nightmare. My brother came and got me
Okay.
with a shotgun.
So your brother knew you were in Vegas? Is he from
He
Minneapolis?
knew I was, yes, he knew I
Okay.
was in danger. He knew I didn't like him anymore. He knew I wanted to get away. I was planning this whole escape.
Okay.
And actually had an apartment that I stashed and I filled it with furniture and had it ready for me when I moved out.
Okay.
Yep. That was hard.
That's crazy to me.
So
This is a new guy, a nice
I went to
dancer
Italy
guy.
with him.
Yeah.
I went to Italy with him. That's when I first read the New Testament for the first time.
Okay.
So people need to read the book, really,
Yeah.
because there's so much more that I'm missing right now. The
What
story
book,
is so hard to tell if you're not there and you can't see what I went through and you can't feel what I went through. But basically, anytime somebody is being trafficked, there's different things that need to happen. But the main thing that needs to happen is coercion, fraud,
This is the book.
and control. You know, physical violence, you know, there has to be an element of you can't move and work and live freely from this person. They have to be involved with everything that you're doing.
I don't know how much you want to talk about this. Do you think the second pimp took advantage of you when you had cancer and lymphoma? Did he take advantage of your weakness at that time, or?
Yeah, I would say that he did.
Yeah.
I mean, if I look at that trafficking wheel and I think about both of my pimps and I read intimidation, emotional abuse, isolation, denying, minimizing, and blaming, and sexual abuse and physical abuse and using their privilege and economic abuse, coercion and threats, all of that happened to me. All of it. The only thing I think that didn't was the language barrier.
Sure.
Me being stopped from going to school, which I could not go to school. Both of them wouldn't let me go to college. They did not want that. They both were super jealous, super protective. They had to know where I was 24/7. I had to always report in with them and tell them where I was, what I was doing, who I was with, who I was talking to. There were many instances. My second pimp, I would go to Minnesota to visit my family, at least try anyway. He would show up at the door to
Your
be there.
family's door.
Yeah. To
That's
spy on
scary.
me.
That's scary, right?
Yeah, he would just be there the next day. Oh, I thought you would miss me. And I'd be like, no.
And you think, too, he might do something to your
My
family?
sister died. What are you doing here? He's like, oh, well, you're cheating on me. What? I'm at my sister's funeral. I'm not cheating on you. And then that night he would choke me out.
Does your family see any of the negative qualities in this guy? Do they have any inkling?
Absolutely. Are
So they
you
know what's
kidding
going
me?
on.
That's why my brother came and got me with the
Got it.
shotgun.
Got it. So your brother sees this and he's like, what the hell's going on here with my sister? She needs help. Who is this guy?
My brother was accused of being my boyfriend by him.
Okay.
He saw that we got along so good and laughed and joked together that he thought I was sleeping with him.
He's accusing you of incest with your brother.
Well, no, he didn't think he was my brother.
Oh, okay. Got it.
He really thought he was just a dude that I liked.
And you're like, this is my brother. He's like, bullshit.
And then he said, I want to see his ID. And then he looked at the ID. He goes, that's not real. Yeah.
Whoa.
He
okay.
accused my brother of not really being my brother,
Okay.
which was insane.
This guy is insane.
Yes.
You didn't know this at first, though, right?
No.
Okay. Do you think he put on a front when you initially met him?
Absolutely.
Do you think that's more likely than him actually changing over time? That you got to know more of
I
who he
think
actually
that's what
was?
happens too with all of us that date abusers,
Yeah.
is that we find out who they really are over the years
Okay.
or months. It takes time to see who they are in
So,
every scenario.
how long were you pimped by these two pimps in total, would you say?
10 years.
10 years.
Mhm.
And you're in the industry for how long?
In the escort services, 11 years.
11 years.
Mhm.
So your brother comes, rescues you with the shotgun, and you stay in Vegas, or you go back home
I
for a
did.
period of time?
I stayed in Las Vegas and I stayed in the escort services. Gosh, a couple more months, maybe 5 more months or 6. I don't remember exactly like how long it was. I'd have to look at my storage and my bank accounts to see
Okay.
how it went down. You know, like when I started my bank account, because remember I couldn't have a bank account
Yeah.
with the second one was like I couldn't have any money,
you
or
wanna-
at least put money in the bank account anyway. It was always empty with the second pimp.
Tell us a little bit more
Um,
about that, because you mentioned it way earlier. What are some of the things these pimps do to make you dependent on them?
Well, you can't have an identification. You can't be free. You can't get a passport. Can't get a, like you can't
Do you have a driver's license at this
Yeah,
time?
but you're not allowed to carry it with you.
Okay,
It has to stay in the safe.
got it.
So you can't leave.
No bank account, no credit cards.
No,
Nothing.
nothing.
If he sees any of this, what happens? You never even
You
tried.
get a beat down.
Okay, not worth it.
Yeah. By the time I got with my second pimp, though, my credit was completely trashed
Because
from
of
my
him?
first pimp.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's maxing out your cards
He destroyed my credit.
on purpose.
No, he wouldn't let me get my first car I ever owned. He didn't let me make the payments, so it got repoed.
Okay.
Destroyed my credit.
So second
Crazy.
pimp you leave, what does your credit look like? Are you still kind of fucked?
Oh no, my credit's better.
Okay.
My credit oh my gosh, I think it was like a 5 or a 4.
Okay.
It was that bad.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah, because there was a couple places that we lived that he just let the deposit go and they wrecked my credit. He put it in my name.
So it's bold of you to stay in Vegas from my perspective, knowing a little about this, right? It seems like this is you be on some sort of a list out there, right? You might re-interact with one of these guys. Do you ever stumble into one of these guys ever again?
The last time I saw my first pimp, it was so long ago.
Okay.
It's been years.
Okay.
We're talking, I think, like 15 years.
Vegas isn't too big.
No. And then my second one, trying to think. 2005,
2005.
2006 maybe.
Okay.
I saw him at a park and I was with my girlfriend. I had just started going to church and stuff, and he brought me over to his house with her to show me some stuff, and It was really a crazy situation because he locked the door behind us, and I knew he wasn't going to try nothing with her.
Yeah.
I was hoping anyway.
Why did you go in there?
I felt sorry for him.
Really?
Yeah.
Is he debilitated? What happened to him? Why did you feel sorry for him?
Shot himself in his head.
Okay. So he's a vegetable at this point?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know what happened to him.
So he tried to kill himself after you left at
Several
some point?
times in front of me.
In front
He
of
tried
you?
to kill himself, yeah. He'd spin the barrel of the gun and then throw it back in. He had a .357 Magnum long nose, hollow point bullets.
Okay.
And he would spin the barrel and click and then go like that and then laugh.
So he's insane.
I think so.
Is he using hard drugs at this time?
He was.
Okay.
And then sometimes not.
Okay.
Weird. He would stay up for like 2 weeks at a time sometimes. I could smell it on him too. It has an odor. Like meth has an odor.
Okay, meth.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that was what he was doing because I never saw it. I saw little bags in his shirts.
Sure.
He would like, then he would blame it on me and say it was my drugs. I never did meth before, so he would be like, "Oh, that's your drugs," and I'd be like, "No." I would see it. It would be see through. It looked like crystal.
Yeah.
So he would do that with one of his friends.
Okay.
It's just really, oh my gosh, I think about those days and I'm just like, wow, that was a hard time in my life.
I can only imagine.
I feel like all those years are so wasted.
Yeah.
But, you know, when I was going through them and when I got out of them right away, I was thinking I wasted my life. Like I lost so much of my life. I feel so empty. I feel so worthless and just none of this makes sense. Make it make sense, God. And then the thing is, I didn't know Jesus like I do now. And when I came to know Jesus, it was a real coming to grips with myself and what I had done in my past was August 2nd, 2003 when I overdosed. And I literally could feel the presence of God at the hospital that day.
So what did you overdose on?
Cocaine.
So during your time with the
I
pimps?
think cocaine, Benadryl,
Okay.
and Sudafed, all three of them, because I was taking Sudafed because my nose was bleeding from the coke,
Okay.
and I was taking Benadryl to slow my heart down because the coke was making my heart race,
Okay.
and then I was taking the coke to keep me up so I could work.
Because you're working 12, 16-hour days a day?
Well, I was working at the body shop.
The body shop
Yeah,
after you left the industry.
I was working at the body shop of my friends,
Okay.
and then when he was out of town, I would go down to the strip and turn tricks. He didn't know about it. I hid it from him.
This is after you left your second pimp.
Yeah.
So you're still working in the industry.
Yeah, off and on. Yep.
Okay. Is that just because in your head this is something
Because
you
he didn't
know?
let me have any money, so I wanted to have my own money.
The second pimp?
No, my boyfriend.
Oh, so you met a boyfriend after your second pimp? Who's pimp-like?
I don't know. I don't want to talk about him.
Okay. He's out of the picture.
Yeah,
We move on.
yeah.
You
I
have
can't
an
really talk
overdose.
about that relationship
Got it.
right now because it's a little tricky.
Got it. We
But
can cut whatever.
It
you
wasn't
want.
healthy. Let
Okay.
me just tell you that. Man, this is hard. Like my guts are on the table, Tyler. Literally, like
We can.
I'm like exhausted. I'm like, what? Like, here's the bottom line. Anytime someone has control of you, it's not good.
Yeah.
If you can't identify as your own person and your whole life is identifiable by your partner only, there's a problem. You've got codependency issues. You are with probably a psychopath or a narcissistic behavior person, right?
Sure.
And possibly a pimp.
Okay.
I was attracted to any man psychologically that I think long term that was like my father.
Your dad was a narcissist?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know it though at the time.
Okay.
I didn't know what a narcissist was until after I started researching it on the internet.
So
That's
you
what
weren't
I
allowed to go to
discovered.
school to study psychology, I imagine.
Oh,
right?
I would have loved to.
Yeah.
I would have loved to.
Okay.
I study it anyway, like on my side, like on the down low. I know a lot about psychology because of what I've been through.
can tell.
Everything makes sense now.
Yeah.
Everything, every piece. Even what I'm going through now in my life and worrying about the fundraising, worrying about the nonprofit, taking care of these precious ladies that we do, having a staff, being a boss, being a CEO founder, being a creative and a visionary for my nonprofit, I see even inside of those things that I'm still living out my trauma. I'm still recovering, and I'm going to always be to the day I die.
So let's flip this to the redemption arc.
This is the redemption part of it. This is the part where you can take the past,
Yeah.
all that complex trauma, and use it for good.
So after your overdose, how do you end up starting Pink Chair and Hookers for Jesus? How does that happen?
So,
And can you tell us a little bit about what that means?
yeah, so when I started doing this, I literally had a dream of Jesus because I was praying to God. I was like, I want to know what he looks like. I believe he's a real person, Tyler, and he's not of this world.
Okay.
He was a divine being put in a human body to come and die for our sins, obviously. This is what I believe. And he forgave all my sins. He forgave all my wrong choices, all the bad things I did, every wrong thing I did, gone, completely forgiven. What a miracle that is. That gives your conscience so much ease, so much peace, and it makes everything make sense. It does. Now there's no lost years. There's no regret. There's no guilt. There's no shame. There's no, major pain that you're stuck in. Now you have a purpose. Now you can help other people get out of their situation as slaves and help free them. That's what I do now with our nonprofit.
So you
We
found
have
a
several-
relationship with God after
I
this
did.
overdose?
I did. And I fell in love with Jesus, and I literally did not want another relationship until I knew who I was first. So I identified now with who I really am.
And how long after that do you start Hookers for Jesus, or the new
So-
name Pink Chair?
I started my first outreach at the end of 2004
Outreach meaning?
on the Strip, reaching
Okay.
out to girls like me.
Okay.
And I officially launched the agency officially in 2006, but I was doing outreaches in 2004 and mostly 2005. And I didn't file for the nonprofit until 2007, but I filed an S Corp. So if anyone looks us up, they can see that.
Sure.
Because I wanted to sell T-shirts. Because
Okay.
there had to be some way to fund what I was doing.
Sure.
And that was my answer. So I did that for a while, and then I dissolved the corporation, and I filed for the nonprofit to do what I do now.
And tell me what you do now.
So now we have a place called Destiny House that we can bring the ladies. Our place has 10 beds in the main house and then 3 beds in our apartments. And we help women recover from sex trafficking and start a brand new life, get away from their pimp, go to trauma counseling, go to art therapy, equine therapy, learn how to cook for themselves, have their own personal trainer, get themselves healthy again, get them stabilized in their brain, their body, ground them as a human being, teach them about our spirituality, where we come from, where I come from in that space of being a Christian because we're faith-based. And then after those, the stabilization period, which is anywhere from 3 to 6 months, they get to choose, even after 3 months or 2 if they need to, they can choose their area of expertise they'd like to study. So that's a grant that we get from a partnership in the community. So they can choose between, there's 500 jobs, 500 studies to choose from. They can become a court reporter. They can become a lawyer. They can become a judge. They can become a CNA. They can become a nurse. They can become a lobotomist if they want, or a dentist if they want to become, an actress, if they want to start their own business, if they want to do casino work, if they want to work as a concierge. Whatever that looks like for them, we help them reach that goal. And then they get their job and they save all their money. Everything's free because they're staying with us for free because we don't charge them. Then they move into the second home, which is called Dream House. And that's where girls will have their job and they'll be saving their money so they can eventually save for the car, save for their own place. And then we get them into permanent housing with HUD housing.
So this is what you call the aftercare?
Yes.
And where do you find these girls
They come to us.
Okay. How do they
We do
find
outreaches too. So it's a lot of different referral across the country and locally in Las Vegas.
Okay.
And some of the girls just know who we are, and they find us on the internet, which is great, and word of mouth, because we do fantastic services. We also help ladies that aren't in our home. We'll help them find a home, or we'll help them with their life while they're here in Las Vegas if we can, and give them referral services, help them get connected with people to help them as well. And we'll go to court for them, advocate for them, go to the doctor with them. If they feel like they can't be by themselves, we'll come alongside them and support them in their journey of healing, which is so important that we do that. It takes a village to help heal these ladies. It doesn't just take one person or one agency. And the housing part is the key, because if they don't have stable housing, it's not going to be a good place to heal. You can't heal in unstable housing. So when you have
hide
stable
them
housing,
from pimps?
yes,
Okay.
100%.
Okay.
Yeah. Both of our houses are safe houses. And we do that on purpose as a rule with both of our houses. You're not allowed to say where this is. This is a private place. This is for you and the other girls. This is a safe base. You're not allowed to share with anybody where you are. It's just the way it is. Their family can come visit them, of course, but we try to keep that obviously inside our family of our ladies that we work with. So we make sure that the house isn't compromised by other people as much as we can.
If any girls were in a situation you were in years ago, how could they find you guys, and how can anyone watching help you guys continue on your mission of helping these girls?
So they can just go to our website, pinkchair.org, or hookersforjesus.net. It's fishnet. So Hookers for Jesus basically is this. It stands for fishing for people that are drowning in the dark waters of sex trafficking. Because there's a boat in Dutchland called the Hooker. Believe it or not, it's a fishing boat.
Okay.
And
I
it's
thought
really
this was a hooker reference. I will be
Yeah,
honest.
no. It means fish boat.
Got it. Okay.
And fish hook.
Okay.
Get it?
Yeah. Double,
It makes sense now, doesn't
clever.
it?
It's clever. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and they can go to our website or call us at 702-883-5155. They can text me. If they're in an emergency situation, I'll get them the help they need. They can also call the offices at 702-623-0958. When they hear the voicemail and the section that they want to talk to, like if they want to apply for our program, they press on extension 108 or 113. If they want to talk to me, that's another extension. Like there's all different extensions they can click on to get a hold of us.
And how are you guys funded? How
We're
do you guys run this
totally
operation?
funded publicly
Okay.
by the private public, and we try to go for as many grants as we can. And I really want to get away from government grants, but unfortunately we have to finish out the couple that we have right now, which isn't paying the bills. We are desperately in need of funds right now. Every time we have payroll, I have a heart attack, Tyler.
Okay.
Because I'm like, where's this money going to come from? And it's not like we're paying people big money, because we're not. Like, you'd be shocked at what I make an hour. I should be making like quadruple the amount or more. But we just can't afford it right now.
So if there's someone out there with money watching that resonates with the mission and what you guys are doing, how can they help you? Money being sent directly to
I don't
your
care if it's
organization?
$5. Quit Starbucks for a couple days. Help us out.
Okay.
Maybe don't take that vacation and spend it on, time with us. Come to Vegas and volunteer your time,
So
It's worth it to not go get that extra baseball cap or extra set of tennis shoes that you don't need. Talking to you kids.
sure.
I'm joking, of course, but not really. I mean, we buy so many things we don't need sometimes. Yeah. And if they really understood that if it can go to rebuild a human, that's dope, dude. That is facts legit. Like, you can't not feel good about that if you give to a donation to a place like us, because you're building a human being's life that has been ravaged by trafficking. I mean, I'm just one example by my tears. Like, this is so important that people understand it doesn't take just 1 year or 2 months to fix somebody. It takes years to rebuild your life. You're taking somebody with nowhere to stay, no clothing on their back, no bank account, horrible credit, severe trauma in the brain, in the heart, and you're trying to rebuild them. How do you do that in a couple days, Tyler?
I don't think it's possible. It doesn't sound
No.
easy. Yeah.
No. If there was a place like this for me, I would have went in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat. And so, of course, the girls go, they learn about themselves and self-reflection. I don't want to say psychology, but it kind of is. It's a study of themselves and the brain, why they did what they've done, why they were subject to it, and why they were a victim. It breaks it all down, and we teach them what that looks like.
And a lot of girls have come in and undergone the services you provide and
Yeah.
then exited and lived happy, exciting
Yes.
lives of.
And they realize that, wow, I can get better.
Yeah.
I can heal. And they do. So,
I saw some of those case studies on your website of girls who've come in and left
yep, there's been
fixed.
so many.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's just a tiny little example.
Yeah.
But we should probably give new ones on there because we've had those on there for a minute. But
And
I'm
right now you
just-
have girls living in those safe houses
We
as
do.
we speak.
we do.
Okay.
Yep.
And you're protecting them, you're educating them,
Yes.
you're helping rehabilitate them if they have
Yes.
drug dependencies. And,
Yes,
and then-
definitely.
And helping them get employed at some point?
Yes.
Okay.
A schooling, employment, GEDs, whatever they need. You need to help. That's what we need to do, is help. The only way to help is to donate right now. So,
We'll add the
Partner
link in the
with us.
description.
yeah. If I feel like I'm alone and the public doesn't believe in us, it really hurts.
Yeah.
Because I almost died so many times. And I'm here as an example to the girls that you can thrive and live and be free. So this is what I've given my life cost to. I'm not trying to be a musician star. I'm not trying to travel the world and be a Grammy nominee or a Oscar nominee, whatever. But I probably should have gotten an Oscar for my acting job I did over the years, right? Lying to my pimp, lying to the tricks,
Jeez.
pretending I liked it, pretend I love my, all that. Because at the very end, both pimps, I hated them in the end. I hated them.
Rightfully so.
The only way I could leave.
Yeah.
I had to have the anger and the hate built up inside me. And I believe God allowed that to happen to me so that I could leave. I had the strength to leave. So it's just so important that we support survivor-led organizations. I can't stress that enough. When it's survivor-founded and survivor-led, it's so important because these ladies that we deal with can't get out of what they're doing if they don't have an example in front of them.
And
Makes
that's,
perfect sense.
That's who you want to be to these girls, right?
Yes.
And that's what you are.
As much as I can be. I'm
Yeah.
not perfect. But yeah,
I think you're doing a good job
thank you.
from the few hours we've hung out together.
Yeah. Well, people can come and see our place if they really ask, and we make sure that they're not a undercover pimp. But we'll see. We'll do a
What do you mean?
background check first.
Is that referring to me? I hope not. I was like, I'm no pimp.
Tyler, I'll let you see it, but I'm going to have to swear you to secrecy.
Yeah, put me
Okay.
on blindfold. So if anyone's watching that wants to contribute to Pink Chair, link in the description will be there for everything, and Annie's book and Annie's socials. Thank
And I
you,
have this
Annie.
show, too.
And Annie's show, which is
Yeah.
called Pink Chair.
Yeah,
right?
Annie's Pink Chair. Yep.
Annie, it was an honor. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you for having me.
This is the summarized version of your story. I'm sure there's way more detail in your book
Of
here,
course.
right?
It's 7 hours worth of talking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for giving us the synopsis
Yeah.
because every time I talk to you, I get in more detailed version of it.
And
that's-
to be honest, the story's longer than 7 hours.
Sure.
Like, the real of it is living with me, watching me live and breathe what I do, and learning. My husband doesn't even know everything yet. He's learning still. So,
you have
14
so many-
years I've been married. 14
Yeah.
years I'm married to Oz Fox, and he's a wonderful man. So, yeah, we all know.
Annie, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thanks for being so transparent and laying your guts out on the table. That takes a lot of balls,
Yeah.
even though you're a woman.
Yeah, but I got him. I got him somehow.
That's for sure.
Yep.
And anyone watching, hopefully this added more context to maybe the video they've seen with you and I think this is cool that it gives a little bit more detail.
I hope so. If you're judging me still,
Yeah.
just stop commenting.
Yeah.
Just go back in your little dark hole and play with yourself. You know?
That's a good end statement right there. All right.
No, I'm going to pray for them too.
Yeah.
I'll pray that they find out that actually they're worth something too and God loves them.
It's easy to judge from the outside, right?
It is.
This stuff's
But I
heavy.
feel sorry for them because they just don't know.
Yeah.
They just don't know. So
Well, thank you so
You're
much
welcome.
for sharing, and we'll respect your time here and end it.
Also, I'm going to give $500 to whoever has the most viewed clip of this podcast. Just tag Tyler Oliveira Pod on wherever you post it. And I'm going to give $100 to the second and third most viewed clip. Thanks for watching.